So the new DoD budget for the next year is out, and immediately we see that they've made some cuts, some that are tragically wrong against service members and their families. What am I talking about? Well, the one I saw, the one that affects me personally, because I was just stationed there, is over in Japan. The COLA, the cost of living allowance, is going to be dropped from $414 to $354. What does that mean to you? Well, probably nothing if you don't live there. But at the same time, this is definitely just a slap in the face of the service members who are bravely serving overseas. We're talking about Japan here. We're talking about people who are ready to go fight Kim Jong-un and North Korea and the lifestyle their families are accustomed to, with, you know, the little bit of provisions the military seems due to give us. This pisses me off, and I know they have their reasons for this, and they even explain it, why they're cutting down the COLA. Okay, let's explore all these reasons, and I'll tell you all why they're bullshit and why you should be mad. This is happening under your noses and without any kind of dissent in the mainstream media or even the social media. All right, so first of all, when you're overseas, you get something called a cost of living allowance. This is basically an extra bonus in your check to help you deal with living in an area outside of the United States, or sometimes inside the United States, like Hawaii, where the cost of living is way much higher than it is in the States. The basic pay and allowances for the troops stationed in the United States is set at like whatever the local level is for America. What is considered, you know, your rent. You know, it's going to be based on the housing rent of whatever you're living. Overseas, same thing. You have overseas housing allowance, which is, but both of those are just for paying rent. Beyond those, they look at, you know, what is our base pay and what are we taking home compared to what is overseas, and what do they need to take home to like live a comfortable lifestyle at whatever rank you are. So they came up with the cost of living allowance, or COLA. This is just part of being overseas. It's part of, you know, just what you get as a sailor, soldier, marine, airman, whatever. When you're in Japan, you're in Korea, you're in Europe, whatever. And it's based on, you know, a lot of factors. Now, apparently in Japan this year, coming up 2018, they've decided that the troops and their families aren't spending as much out in town, and due to this, we're going to lower what money they're getting. This is problematic for a lot of reasons. Number one, yes, you know, there probably is a lot less spending out in town for a couple of reasons. Number one, every time some Joe Schmuckatelli crashes a car, the entire island and country is put on lockdown. They don't even have a chance to spend the money. They have to like go home and go to work, and that's it. They can't even, like right now, they can't even drink any alcohol due to one guy. You know, whatever that guy did, you know, DUI, killed a guy. That sucks. It sucks for his family. Does not mean everyone else has to pay for it. But regardless of this, this is kind of what they're building off of. These people aren't spending as much money out in town when they can't even get out in town. Number two, yes, a lot of getting the parts of life, getting the things that you need to get by and live comfortably with, you can do a lot more online now. You can do it with the exchange, you can do it with Amazon, and having a military post office means you don't pay the extra money in terms of postage sent overseas, because DoD mailboxes are U.S. post office. But it doesn't mean that all that spending, even if it's online and they're not using it out in town, they're not spending more money than what they were spending if they were living in the States. I can definitely attest to this, having just 2 years ago transferred from Iwakuni, Japan. We had to rely so much on Amazon and certain other U.S. side places to deliver us goods than just living out in town and being able to enjoy all those things that you do in the stateside. So yeah, the military post office is great. I will never knock it, but overall, you're still spending a lot more money on stuff you would not have or have to worry about if you were living in the stateside. So that money still comes up, and there's still a lot these sailors, Marines, what have you, have to spend money on, even if they're living in the barracks, even if they're living in they're living out in town and they're relying mostly on overseas deliveries. It's still a lot more money than they would have to spend stateside. I guarantee you. Part 2 of this is just the blatant, we are trimming the budget for DOD, and here's where we're going to take it out of. We're going to take it out of the troops. We're going to take it out of their pocket and their family. And I'm not talking like we're not giving them a good raise next year. I'm talking about literally cutting their money off from 400 something to 300 something. When they were expecting what they had the year before, suddenly the next year that money's been cut by a significant margin. There's tons of people who budget so far well ahead. You suddenly take this money away from them because you're trying to match a budget and you're looking for any corners you can cut anywhere, and this is where you decide to cut. It is the worst slap in the face of the troops you can fucking do, okay? You want to complain about, the military wage isn't compatible with these stupid liberals and their, $15 an hour minimum wage, blah, blah, blah. Well, the military doesn't make that much. Well, complain about the fucking military pay then, okay? It should be more. It should, we should be getting more money. I don't hear a lot of complaints about that. And now we're sitting here looking at, we're going to take away some more money from them. Why? Because F them. That's why. That was their entire intention. They don't care. They're looking to cut out money from the budget. And let's go look at the budget again. How much of these trillions of dollars are being spent on the troops? Tiny drop in the bucket. What is R&D doing? What is various pork things going on with the Pentagon? Spending tons and tons of money, a lot of which is never verified or documented. Way more than is acceptable. And if you accept that kind of spending, and at the same time you come back to us and well, you know what? Military just gets screwed on pay. I mean, that is the paradigm out there, right? We suck, an E1 in the combat zone gets paid less than a $15 worker at McDonald's. Why aren't you mad about that? Why aren't you mad about this thing equally screwing them out of money? Money they already had in their pocket until this year they're being told, hey, it's almost $100 less a month. You shouldn't be confined with that. You should be angry about it. If you care that much about veterans, you care that much about your military, you care that much about your pay, this is not a minor issue. This is an easy issue to solve, or at least come to some kind of compromise on. Let's look at one thing. You can easily say, okay, well, the cost of living allowance doesn't need to go up anymore because these people are getting so much stuff from the state side and they're not going off as base as much. Okay, fine, probably mostly true. So why would you go in and take $100 away from these people who lived there 1 year and the next year they have $1,200 or so less than they were expecting over this item? Why don't you just freeze the COLA raise? Why don't you just say, hey, this is going to stay this price until we determine inflation is caught up with it? That's the humane thing to do. That's the right thing to do. And it's not fucking with people's pay. And this is where the crux of the matter is. You're fucking with a military pay, people on the front line in 7th Fleet, over in Japan, people sitting on the nose of the spear, ready to go to fight with Kim Jong-un, North Korea, anywhere else 7th Fleet Pacific-wise, there could be a conflict. And say it's $100 a month and it's mostly comfort to the daily troop in the barracks. Oh my God, he can't afford this or that. Or oh my God, it's his family. Like, well, I guess they have to, like, you know, change their spending habits and, you know, tighten up that belt. Why? This is the military. This is what you all said. These people should be paid well for what they do. And there's occasional perks to it. Occasional bits of money, except from living overseas, maybe you can make more use out of. Maybe even ever, if you're really just kind of a Scrooge, you know, you can pocket a bit, maybe save for later. What's wrong with this? Do you have a problem with this? Do you not like how the military gets paid? Fine. But if you claim to give a shit about how the military is paid, how the military treats its service members and their families, this is something you should be pissed about. COLA should never go down. COLA at most gets frozen until a future time where it could be raised. This is not the troops and their families in Japan's problem. This is a budget problem with the DoD, and there's tons of areas they can go fucking excise some pork. And you know it, and I know it. And as far as I'm concerned right now, DoD, government, everyone that have approved this bill and approved this, like, cutting of COLA to the Japanese military, F you. Take it from me. You suck and you have no idea what it's like to be a military overseas. You have no idea what it means to be military. All you see is the bottom line, and this is not a bottom line you should be cutting. That's all the rant I got for right now. I am the Salty Seaman. I love you freaks. Peace.